Grateful?
I am fighting to contain my enthusiasm, my passion. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I can barely contain myself. Suffice to say, I am thrilled to be here. I want to share with you a little bit about this past 6 months. 6 months ago, a dear friend of mine said, I want to introduce you to a very good friend of mine. She's running for Congress. I said, oh, okay, great. And what I thought was going to be a half-hour meeting turned into hours of conversation around my kitchen table. I met Audrey Denney that day and have never looked back for my unwavering support for this woman. She listened, and she listened. She asked amazing questions, she pushed my thinking, and it was the most authentic dialogue that I have had around political discussions in a very long time. I have seen that same skilled communicator speak to 18-year-old first-time voters and connect with them. I have seen that same skilled communicator just last 2 weeks ago meet with a member of the Tea Party who wanted to talk to her about the state of Jefferson. And I have seen her converse, communicate, and win over countless of members of our community. You probably know a little bit about Audrey, or you might know a lot about Audrey. She grew up on a farm and a ranch. She has an extensive background in agriculture. She's an educator. She's a humanitarian. And I have a few things you may not know about her. She loves tacos and coffee. Street tacos, to clarify, and never tacos and coffee together. Don't make that mistake. She confesses to a guilty pleasure of watching Bachelor once in a while. And one of her favorite things to do is to go backpacking with her sisters. And it's a story that one of her sisters shared with me last week that I want to share with you today. Her sister Robin and I were talking after the primary, and she said, I want to share with you a story, Julie. When we were younger, our parents left us alone. They were going out on date night, and they were very excited to go out to dinner and a movie maybe. And so the three of us were going to be home alone, and I'm the oldest sister, and so my parents were explaining to me, okay, you're in charge, that's what you're going to do. She said, my sister's 6-year-old arm flies into the air with this look, and Robin, her sister, is imitating Audrey. She said, she's like this, one hand on the hip and one hand in the air, and she's saying, pick me to be in charge, pick me. Parents looked at her and she said, I can do it. Her sister says that Audrey has always been confident, compassionate, courageous, and a natural leader her entire life. So, we've picked her. She can do this. We can do this, right? It is my honor and pleasure to now introduce you to my friend, to your soon-to-be friend, and to our next representative for California District 1, Audrey Denney.
It is an honor, a real honor, the privilege of a lifetime to be standing in front of this amazing room of people as the woman who you have chosen to unseat Doug LaMalfa, and I will be your next representative. And that is but I would not be standing here today. We would not have had the primary that we've had without some really key, some really important people. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about them. And one of them I'm looking at right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we had the most competitive primary that California's 1st District has ever seen. And it is because we had amazing candidates running to challenge Doug LaMalfa. I'm going to brag on Jessica for a couple minutes. Jessica said to me, Audrey, I want you to know that I'm for you. And it caught me off guard because that's a phrase that we use in my family and my work a lot. We say, hey, I'm for you. And Jessica said, hey, I'm for you. And when we say that, we mean I am supporting you without judgment, without agenda. I'm supporting you, and I want to do what I can do to make you better. And it was an amazing moment. And I believe that Jessica and Marty and David and Lewis and I ran a campaign that was for the 1st District. You heard a lot of us say that we weren't competitors, we were colleagues. Lewis had a fun line in there, something like, we're not running against each other, we're running for the people of this district. And I experienced that with Jessica, her amazing team, Lori, with Marty and Marty's amazing key volunteers that are here. Thank you for investing in your candidate. Thank you for being the kind of people that it takes to step up. And folks, we can do this. And we can do this because this competitive primary we had pushed us all. It pushed us all to organize. It pushed me individually to think about issues and things in a different way. The other candidates pushed my thinking, encouraged me, and man, I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful for Jessica and Marty, David and Lewis, and all that they have done to get us here. So let's give one huge round of applause. Now, raise your hand if you've heard me speak before. All right, so I'm glad I have some news stories for you. But if you've heard me speak at all, which you all have, you know that in the very core of who I am, you strip off all the layers, the core of my soul is someone who believes in the inherent equality, dignity, and worth of every single human being. That's every single human being in this room, that's every single human being across our district, in our state, in our beautiful country, and in the world. We are all have this inherent dignity just because we are, and nothing can take that away. And so as your leader, I want you to know that that is the core of me, and that is the base that all my decisions will be made from. And if you've also heard about me, you've heard me talk about justice. I think my staff has started games where when I'm giving speeches, they tally up how many times I say the word justice, and they get points if they guessed it right. But we talk a lot about justice because for me, justice is the living out of this belief that we're all inherently equal. Right? It is the actions that we take in the world to show that we believe that. Okay? And so when we talk about the fact that this campaign for me is about justice, and I have a fire in my belly for justice, it means that I am trying to create a movement of people here in the 1st District that want to create just and inclusive communities across our beautiful district, that are vibrant, that are thriving, that are full of forward-thinking, solutions-oriented leaders trying to do their best for their people. And folks, that is what we are doing already, and that to me is very, very exciting. I want to tell you a quick story about one such community, and I think this is going to be a new story for most of you, so that'll be fun. But I have to be honest, when Barbara showed those Siskiyou County numbers, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and a lot is due to Robin and Alice and Dolly and Carolyn and the amazing work of the Siskiyou County Central Committee. They're amazing. But I'm also going to say Riley and I spent a lot of hours in Siskiyou County knocking on doors and hanging out at all of the local watering holes where the Republicans and the NPP voters, I think our first time up there, this isn't the story I was going to tell, but our first time up there, we had a meet and greet. Turns out it was in the diner that was like the Republican headquarters for the entire Scott Valley area, and here we were just cutting in, getting our coffee, and people are like, what are they doing here? Why didn't anyone tell them? But we love Siskiyou County and Modoc County, and so we were up there one time. We were in the Tule Lake area, so right on the border of Siskiyou County and Modoc County, and everybody kind of pretty familiar with the Klamath Basin area water crisis, water fight has been going on, más o menos, for about 17 years, right? Very, very contentious. You've got all of the Native American tribes involved, you've got farmers and ranchers involved, all of the environmentalists involved. Very, very contentious issue. And so I was touring around with a guy named Ben, who is a farmer in the area, really active with the Farm Bureau. He spent 6 hours with us. And he was touring us around the whole basin, and we went to the town of Newell. We went to the town of Tule Lake, and we saw stores that had been boarded up. And he'd grown up there, and he said, oh yeah, that used to be the taco shop. Elementary schools that had been boarded up. That used to be the school. That's where I went to school. We saw migrant worker encampments that were boarded up. It's like, oh, that used to be an amazing facility for migrant workers to come and live in dignity with their families, all boarded up. We talked about the hospital that was on the verge of closing, and we saw this rural community that was once vibrant and now not so, now left to sort of crumble. And we talked about the water. Water is life up there. And we talked about how a handful of years ago, 34 diverse stakeholder groups came together. Every single environmental group, every single Native American tribe, all the farmers, all the ranchers, the representatives from Oregon, California State Senator, Modoc County Board of Supervisors. All of the groups had come together and formed a plan, the Klamath Basin Restoration Agreement, that was going to make sure that all of those groups had the water they need, make sure that the fish were protected, make sure the farmers could keep farming their 5th generational land, make sure that the Native American people had the water that they needed. Everyone was happy. I'll let you guess what one person wasn't happy. Our incumbent, whose job I am going to take for no other reason than this, did not sign on to the Klamath Basin Restoration Agreement. And now the very people, even if he just has one constituency, he should have the farmers and ranchers. But the very people that should have been in his pocket, he let down. And now we're losing 5th generation family farms up there. They're back in court. They're back in the Ninth Circuit Court trying to get their water rights. We have collaborative, forward-thinking, solutions-oriented people who don't care about party lines, who want to make their communities the vibrant communities that they once were. And our vibrant communities are so, so full of potential because we have this amazing leadership in those communities. But folks, the potential of our communities is only as good. It's only as good as the support that we receive from our elected officials. And it is time to demand better. And that is what this campaign is about. We are demanding better of our representatives. We are demanding a representative who is authentic, who is accessible, and who will listen. And who will listen to and represent every single person in this district. They say it can't be done. They do. We heard that already today. They say it can't be done. And I say, tell me again. Tell me again that it can't be done, and we will show you. We will show you that we already have done it. Look in this room. Look around the district. Guys, it's June. This election is in 5 months, and we have hundreds of people donating, hundreds of people signing up to knock doors, and we're like, no, we're not knocking doors till August 1, and you're like, send us out now. We want to work now, and it's because we are creating a movement, okay? So my 3 things I want to tell you, 3 reasons I know in my soul we're going to win. I can feel it in my gut. We're going to win because, like Barbara mentioned, all of those MPP voters are going to lean left, and we're going to capture some of our disenfranchised Republican brothers and sisters, folks we already are. We're going to win because we're going to register people to vote, and we're going to reach into traditionally disenfranchised communities. And we're going to win because we're building a movement. I want to tell you a little bit about each of those things while I sip my water out of my water bottle that Pinky gave me. Thanks, Pinky. Oh, yeah. So, getting the NPP voters to lean left. Here's what that looks like. Looks like showing up and listening. Saying, hey, what are the things that concern you? Yeah, those are the things that concern me too. Stopping corruption, getting money out of politics, making sure our kids have a good school to go to. Yeah. Same things with our disenfranchised Republican brothers and sisters. There is a good chunk of people who are registered GOP who are tired because the Republican Party of now, the Republican Party that gives tax cuts to the wealthiest among us while threatening our Medicare and our Social Security, that's not the Republican Party that they want to be part of. That's the Republican Party that I was a part of, right? And so we reach out to them. We don't put them in that corner. We don't say, you're different, you're the other. We say, hey, welcome. We share the same concerns. We share the same common humanity, and we want a better future for our district. Come vote with us. I am proud that we've been preaching a message of common humanity and common dignity this whole time, and I'm proud because of that. This week we formally chartered the Republicans for Audrey Denney Committee. So if you have friends or neighbors who want to be part of the Republicans for Audrey Denney Committee, it's chaired by a gentleman named Mark, who's not with us here today, but he's an amazing, amazing man, and they're getting their own merch already. So I'm pretty sure half of my staff is going to be wearing the Republicans for Audrey trucker hats, because they're adorable. Great. Speaking of my staff, I'm joined here today by 2 of my 9 paid staff members. Riley Pedotti, my assistant campaign manager. And Riley Grimm. Riley, you stand up. Riley Grimm is my Nevada County Field organizer. So you guys will be working closely with both of the Rileys. So we talked about reaching into our disenfranchised Republicans and our MPP voters. Let's talk about registering new voters. This is something that's so on my heart, because our voice is our vote. And I think about a month ago, I get a call from one of my staff members, and I answer it, and like, oh, Audrey, something happened. I'm like, oh, what now? What's happened? Like, this man came into our office. This Latino man came in with his dad, who didn't speak English, and you weren't here to speak Spanish, and so we kind of got through it. But he was trying to register his dad to vote, because he wanted to make sure that he could vote for you. And we didn't have a sign on the office that said register here. But this man trusted us, and he trusted our staff to walk him through the complicated process of checking all the boxes and registering to vote. And a couple weeks after he did that, I was out knocking doors in Chico, as I'm apt to do on a Tuesday afternoon, and I knocked his door, just randomly, all the doors in Chico, and he says, Audrey! And he invited me in, and he showed me a picture of his dad, and it turns out he had worked at Sierra Nevada Brewery, and I had worked there in college, and so we're just gabbing, and I'm practicing my Spanish, and we're doing the whole thing, and as I was leaving, I teared up. And I said, just thank you. Thank you for trusting my team to help you register to vote, help you register your dad to vote. And that was a really powerful moment for me. And so within the next few weeks, we're hiring additional staff. I mentioned we have 9 already. We're hiring some part-time staff that will focus on specific outreach into our disenfranchised communities, our historically disenfranchised communities. So we're hiring a Latino outreach director, a Hmong outreach director, Native American outreach director. We're hiring an African American outreach director. All to make sure that people know that their voice is their power. And people will try to take your power away if you are young, or if you are a woman, if you are a person of color, if you are an LGBTQ brother or sister. They will try to take your power away. They historically have been. And so we are reaching into those communities to remind them that their voice is their power, and to own that. And we're also reaching in very strategically to the millennial population, and we have a very strong college outreach plan. So make sure you connect with my staff if you're associated with one of our 7 community colleges around the district, so we can plug you into that as well. So we have a very active plan to be reaching out to and registering new voters. But the last reason is the movement. And I'm looking at the movement right now. Nowhere in our beautiful district is as activated as Nevada County. Nowhere. You take citizenship to a level that is so far beyond, and I am so grateful, because a movement isn't about me. It's not about me. It's not about my name. A movement is about values. Man, that was good. I just stole that. I was doing a theatrical pause, and I got a new word. A movement is about casting casting a vision for these values that we want to see in our district, a vision for justice, what justice looks like in our communities. And then people across the political spectrum, across the age spectrum can buy into that vision and they can make it their own. And that's what a movement looks like. A movement looks like it looks like Barb and Lee tabling at a grocery store, right? Without me knowing about it. It looks like June, my farmer friend, sitting on the sidewalk holding an Audrey Denney sign, just chatting with anyone who will talk to her about why they should vote for me. These are you taking our ideas and making it your own, really owning the political process. And so we will be organizing. We have built a campaign infrastructure and we will organize you and we will get you marching, but we are also leaning on your volunteerism. And we're leaning on you desiring to be part of this movement in 3 key ways. It's giving of your time. It's giving of your talent. Time and talent go together. That was the first one, your time and your talent. It's giving of your treasure, and it's giving of your voice. So time and your talent, whatever that looks like for you. We know that canvassing is far and away the best way to get voters out, right? So if you're knocking doors, we'll train you to do it. We have the amazing app on your phone that's targeted. If that's really not your thing, we'll get you phone banking. We'll get you doing GOTV texting. We'll get you writing letters to the editor, cooking food. We'll get you doing things to use your time and your talents for us. Your treasure. Folks, I already told you we have 9 paid staff already, and we're just getting started. I'm excited about the young women, primarily young women, also some young men that we're hiring, because we're, like Heidi mentioned, we're building a democratic base. We are purposefully investing in people with ties to our district and building them up and training them into political operatives who I'm sure will one day run for office here. So we are building the bench. And then it costs money to run the offices, to get the media message out there. The incumbent will have a war chest. He doesn't yet, but he will. As soon as he feels that we are coming for him, he will just say, hey, pony up. And people will pony up. But the fact is, we are working every single day to continue to outraise him. We estimate right now that we need $600,000 to match from here on out. But I think we can raise more than that, especially when we get our friends and neighbors from neighboring districts to adopt a district. We're hoping they adopt us because he is so vulnerable this year. So your time, your talents, your treasure, and your voice. So your voice is obviously your vote. I don't have to preach that to you. I know you're all going to find your way to the poll or fill in the bubble and mail it back in. But there's a broader sense of the word voice that is really on my heart to talk to you guys about this morning. And it's because I was having breakfast with the Grimms this morning, and I was talking to Papa Grimm, Grandpa Grimm, as I call him. We were having huevos rancheros, and he said, man, Audrey, it's just so hard to talk about this, talk about politics with other people. And Grandma and Grim popped in and said, yeah, I live in North Auburn, and we have a Starbucks, my weekly's lady group, we sit at the Starbucks, but when we talk about politics, we have to whisper, because we don't know who's around. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Folks, families are broken, communities are broken, our district is broken, because we're so far backed into our corners, and we're letting labels that other people put on us, we're letting labels separate us from people that we love. And we're letting labels and this pressure and this fear of the other make it so that we can't talk about what positive change looks like in our communities. And to that I say no more. No more. It's going to take electing leaders like myself to the House who are ready to move beyond party lines and ready to serve. But it's also going to take every single person in this room owning the courage to say, no, I can look somebody who thinks differently than me in the eye, and I can say, let's talk. And let's talk starts with a question. What's challenging you? What's hurting your heart? What are you afraid of? What do you want to see? And then you stop and you really listen. And then you can engage in a conversation around how we can make our communities better. All these things we're talking about aren't partisan issues. Find those shared common values. Find those American values that are enshrined in the preamble of the Constitution. Find that, right? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk politics. Use your voice. So I'm asking for 3 things. Yeah, use your voice. Clap for that. I'm asking for your time. I'm asking for your treasure, and I'm asking for your voice. And let's be frank. There is a comfortable level that you could give. You could give a couple hours here and there. You could give whatever's comfortable for you financially, and you could talk to people that you feel pretty safe with about politics. If everyone in here engaged with the political system comfortably this year, I'm likely not going to make it to DC. But if every single person in this room and every person around the district gave just a little sacrificially, if you gave a little more time than was easy, you gave a little more money than was easy, maybe you stopped, didn't go out to dinner that one night, you said, no, we're gonna use this for justice. And you reached out and you stepped a little bit further out of your comfort zone. Folks, that is how we succeed. And that is how we create a district full of just and inclusive communities. It starts with us in this room, and it starts with us giving sacrificially and being the change we want to see. So thank you for having me, and let's do this thing. So thank you for having me, and let's do this thing.